What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Cardboard Dreams YouTube channel. Today we're going to be covering it shouldn't be advanced topic, but it is an advanced topic in the Flesh and Blood TCG, and that is going to revolve around chain links. So we're going to talk about how layers resolve in chain links, and we're going to use two very common examples that come up with two very prominently played heroes, and that is Ira and Dorinthia. So to explain how the chain link resolves, how each layer resolves in the reaction step, we're going to show it with Zephyr Needle, and we're also going to show it with Reprise. So everybody knows that Reprise is what Dorinthia can do when you've defended with a card from hand, but the common confusion is if a defense reaction like Flick Flack is not a defending card until it resolves, how is it then that Dorinthia is able to trigger Reprise? We're going to cover that in this video as well, and I'm also going to explain to you how to break a Zephyr Needle and how not to break a Zephyr Needle. So let's go ahead and start with a typical turn from Ira. I'll pitch a Sink Below for 3, and I'll swing. Of course, I'll go to a Kodachi. Let me get everybody back up to 20 health here. But Dorinthia is probably going to take this, let's be honest. So Dorinthia takes the first Kodachi, and then we swing that Zephyr Needle for 1. And for those of you that don't know, if Zephyr Needle is defended with a card that has a greater greater defense than Zephyr Needle's attack, destroy Zephyr Needle at the end of the combat chain. So I'll show you. So typically, Dorinthia might block for 3, right? So, let's show, Warrior's Valor. Warrior's Valor blocks for 3. All this means is Dorinthia is not going to take any damage. Zephyr Needle doesn't break. It comes back to its spot at the end of the combat chain. So I'm going to show you 3 scenarios. The first one is where Steelblade Shunt is played and pitched for, and let's just pretend I don't have this Razor Reflex in hand. So what this Steelblade Shunt is going to do is, so we have attack, defense step, then they played the reaction, and then this Dorinthia is going to pass, and I'm going to declare that I have no further reactions, as you can see. And once both players pass, the top layer of the chain link is going to resolve. So only at this point, once I have passed, will I take 1 damage from Steelblade Shunt because it's blocking a weapon. And at this time, the defense from Steelblade Shunt resolves as well, meaning it becomes a defending card for 4. And at this specific time, Zephyr Needle only has 3 attack, meaning that it will break when the combat chain closes. This resolves, and I'm gonna choose not to play any further attacks, although I could pitch a Flick Flack for a flying kick here. And so the combat chain is going to close and the Zephyr Needle will break. So now let's talk about scenario number 2. Scenario number 2 is when we've gotten to this same exact point, and this person plays Steelblade Shunt, pitching a Warrior's Valor, and I do have the Razor Reflex. So in this case, I see that my Zephyr Needle is going to break, and so I spend this last resource to Razor Reflex. I pass priority. The key here is that I pass priority, and Dorinthia also passes priority, meaning the top chain layer on the chain link will resolve. Razor Reflex will resolve first, giving Zephyr Needle +3 before Steelblade Shunt resolves. This is important because when Steelblade Shunt does resolve, it means that Zephyr Needle has a higher attack than any card defending it, and it will make it through the chain link. When the Steelblade Shunt resolved, I still take the 1 damage, but I do get to continue the game with my Zephyr Needle. So let's talk about scenario number 3. Scenario number 3 is going to be when we have gotten to this point, and I have just gone Kodachi, they took the 1, and then I say, okay, I'll swing a Zephyr Needle. They pass on defense, and then on my first attack reaction step, when I have this resource, I choose to actually play the Razor Reflex early. And what this means is that this player can now play the Steelblade Shunt, pitching the Warrior's Valor. And this is on the top layer of the combat chain, meaning that if this Dorinthia plays this, passes to me, and I say, okay, I've got no more reactions, Snapdragon Scalers won't help, then we will resolve the Steelblade Shunt. And at this point, Steelblade Shunt has 4 defense, while Zephyr Needle still has 3. So I will take 1 from the Steelblade Shunt, and the Zephyr Needle will break at the end of the combat chain. And this is what I want to point out, and how devastating it can be to play your attack reactions too early with Zephyr Needle. So do keep that in mind. Had the player played a red Steelblade Shunt after I played this Razor Reflex, the red Steelblade Shunt would resolve and actually end up breaking the Zephyr Needle as well. So keep that in mind as well. If it's like, let's say I had played this after the Shunt and then they somehow had another Shunt, that would also affect the Zephyr Needle. So then Zephyr Needle breaks, and if you have any questions, leave any comments below. If for some reason I got anything wrong, please also do share that in the comments below. I want to make sure we give the right information. And if you enjoy stuff like this, make sure you subscribe if you haven't. And I appreciate the like on the video, because this is a very common misconception. And so the second chain link related topic that I want to cover is going to be Dorinthia's Reprise ability. Reprise, again, when a hero is defended from hand, these attack reactions get an extra ability. So let's go ahead and play out a turn. The player is going to pitch the Steelblade Shunt 3 floating, and they are going to say, okay, I'm going to play this Warrior's Valor yellow, giving my Dawnblade +2. And if it hits go again, then they're going to swing the Dawnblade. So it's coming in for a total of 5. I've got a red Flick-Flack in my arsenal, and I know I don't want this next attack to hit. So because I don't want them to get a counter this turn, I also don't have any combo cards, so I'm not really in good shape if if the Flick-Flack does not go through, if it doesn't block. So I'll block with my Breaking Scales. I'll pass to reactions, and the opponent does not react, but I choose to play a Flick-Flack from Arsenal. Then, when they get back to priority, they're going to say, all right, I'm going to play a Singing Steelblade, giving it +1. So now we are at when everything is resolved, 5 versus 6. Although technically we are 1 against 5 with these 3 cards right here. So now I decide, all right, well, I'm kind of in deep, so I don't really want to take the 1. They do not get the Reprise ability from Singing Steelblade because I have not defended out of hand. And in the release notes, Reprise activates at the time the card is played, not the time the card resolves on the chain link. So I say, all right, I need to block this, so let me play a blue Sink Below from hand. And so what happens here is this gives the opponent the opportunity, when I pass priority, to play a Glint the Quicksilver. Okay, so the target weapon attack gains go again, and Reprise also triggers. So because I have defended, and so I play Sink Below. So once we're at this point, I play a Sink Below, and I pass priority. Now there's a decision the warrior player has to make. Do they want to play their Glint the Quicksilver that's in hand before my Sink Below resolves, or after, right? And so if they play it before, we have both passed priority and that top layer resolves, then Glint the Quicksilver does not get reprised. The target weapon attack only gains go again. So that's probably not the ideal thing to do, and that is not what you see Dorinthia players doing. What you see them doing is you see me play the Sink Below, they let me pass priority, and then they pass again. And then when that Sink Below resolves, and I'm able to, say, sink the card, they will choose to then Reprise at this moment. Okay, so the chain link was 1, 2, 3 reactions. The stack was 3 reactions tall, and we moved it down to 2 when we passed priority, and then Glint the Quicksilver brought it up to 3 links and got Reprise because Sink Below had become a defending card at this point. So that is how Reprise works with Dorinthia, and that is why she's able to get it on a defense reaction. So let's show you how another way this could have played out is I could have played this Flick Flack from hand to block up, and at this point the Glint would also have worked and they would have drawn, right? And so that is what you need to be looking out for, and also it would have been completely devastating for a Steel Blade Supremacy to be played here, because they could search for, you know, anything like a red Iron Song response, as you've seen. You know, you really don't want to route like a Flick Flack. But I'm getting off topic. If you have any other questions about how the chain link work, how it resolves those layers, be sure to ask questions here in the comments. Go on Facebook. The rules page is great. That's how I learned about this, is people explained it to me there, because I think it's a common contention with Dorinthia. And so I think it's important to understand when and why attack and defense reaction affects resolve, and how that can, how just layering your attack reactions in a nuanced way can change the outcome of the combat chain. Right now, these 2 examples are the most prominent. There aren't a ton of heroes that really rely on this kind of stuff, but I do anticipate in the future we could see some more stuff like that, particularly around Prism and the, you know, the illusionist stuff where you can influence cards on a combat chain with instants. So definitely keep that in mind. With that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I appreciate the subscribe, because more quality fab content coming as soon as it comes. Appreciate it.